Hello, welcome to Series 1, Episode 7 of Exploring Multimedia Art with Pd-L2Ork. In the last episode, we began our journey in exploring the external gem. This is an external that can be applied to PD vanilla, and per data comes with it. PD extended used to come with it, but it's no longer being maintained, that flavor of PD. But Pd-L2Ork does come with it as well. Now, gem's been around a while, and some people have already noticed it can be a little bit glitchy. The way I try to manage things here is I try to show you ways of kind of like avoiding some of those glitches and stuff as I see them. So anyway, here we go. Today we're going to be kind of like taking some of the basics we learned last time with 2D objects and then working a little bit further with them and adding some audio reactivity to it. So we're going to be making a 4-band EQ display. Alrighty, so let's get to it. Okay, here we are. I made a new folder for episode 7. Here's some gradients that I made. I'm going to show you, how I made them. I made the first 3. I'm going to make the 4th one for our 4-band EQ. And so you can see how they're made. But you could definitely make your own. But for my students in my class, I'll be uploading these in case you don't want to be making gradients. But I do encourage folks to take in their own creativity and add it to what we're doing. This audio file is not something you're going to need at all. It's something I'm going to demonstrate for what we're doing. This PD file is a direct copy of what we had last time. But I'm going to open it up and basically, as you see in a moment, I'm going to keep what we're going to need this time and get rid of everything else. So, those of you who have not added Gem to your startup, I know some folks had trouble finding it on their computer to add it to their startup routine that's under preferences. Remember, you will need to keep this object here. Like if the gem objects that we make are not showing up for you, like they have this red dotted outline that they're not working, you do need to put in a declare -lib gem object. And then that will make sure the gem libraries are loaded. Now, I have them loaded through the startup, so I don't really need this. I'll delete it, but you need to keep it if you have not successfully put gem in your startup routine for Pd-L2Ork. I'm going to delete the stuff we made last time, but keep our gem window stuff here. Yeah, so that I can create the window and destroy it as needed. That's usually, if gem starts glitching out on you, that's usually what you need to do, is just destroy the window, create it again. So anyway, let me just set up my room here to see how much real estate I have to do this stuff. I want to make sure that I am fully on screen. Yeah, Windows keeps trying to snap it to something. I think now, like that, I'm on screen. Yep. And we got as much of this window as we need. All right, good. So, first of all, a little bit of strategy is involved here. I wanted to make these bands a little bit more interesting, so I decided to make gradients. You can also add patterns to them or something like that, textures or whatever. But these images, these are PNG files, are going to be loaded in to this patch to be our bars in the graphic EQ. So I'm going to go down here to Photoshop and just show you how to make one if you want to for this exercise. I'm going to go to File, New, and in here I'm making them 100 pixels by 300 pixels. Seems to be about the right dimensions for when they stretch out. I mean, basically, the way we're applying these images as textures to a rectangle, it's basically going to stretch it out as the size changes. But if you see pixelation and stuff, that means that the size of your original file is too small. It's being stretched out too much. So now I'm just going to make a regular old rectangle here. As you see, my primary color is white. It doesn't matter what that color is, because actually we're going to override it with a gradient overlay. So there we go. Now I can make this exactly 300 by 100 pixels. This little locking mechanism here, you may want to turn off so that you can make it 100 wide by 300 tall. So that way it's the exact size of our area. Now I'm going to go up here to the crosshairs pointer tool, whatever they call it. And I'm going to move this down so that it locks into place. There we go. Now I'm going to go over here and double click on the layer. I'll go to gradient overlay. If people want to play with pattern overlays or other things, go on ahead. Now, since this is the last one I did, this is what comes up. I'm basically going to, we are in gradient overlay, right? Yep. I want to select a different one, so I'm going to close the greens category. For the fourth one, I'm going to make it blues. They have different colors here. I was looking for yellows, and I didn't see it. So I had to go straight to greens and now blues. There we go. That one looks good. And I'll press OK. There we go. We have our gradient, and then I'm going to save as. I'm going to save it directly to PNG. All right, so I'm going to type band. I keep it lowercase. I'm using an underscore. You don't want any spaces in the file name because PD doesn't like that. Since we're going to be loading this in, no spaces in the file name. And to save yourself some extra trouble, don't use different cases or something like that because it's case sensitive and the case has to match. If I used a capital B, I'd have to use it in PD. And if I forgot, you know, you could run into trouble there. There we go. So now I can close these and I can close Photoshop. See how I made them. If you want to make your own, you can use textures, all that sort of thing. So we have basically things for our 4 bands. Now this audio file was something I did earlier in Audition. We're not going to actually use this, so you're not going to have to make one. Although if you want to do what I'm doing here, it may be a good idea. I should have made a mono audio file because, well, it still works because it's mono input here. But basically what I did was this. Press record. Okay. I basically wanted to get my vocal range there. Then what I did is I called up the effect parametric EQ. It's under filters and EQ. parametric equalizer. There actually is one called parametric EQ, and it's just one band. Parametric equalizer is this one. Here, let's zero this out. There we go. So now if I press spacebar to play, and then pause, hit spacebar again right away, I can see I'm starting somewhere just a little bit below 100 hertz. I'm trying to think, what bands do I want to have my patch sense? So I'm starting here 100 hertz, and I'm seeing harmonics and stuff going up to 700, even to 1K. I'm going to focus on fundamentals. This is going to be an EQ for notes that you're singing. I mean, if you want to go further and capture fragments of the whole spectrum, you're going to see how you can do that. Or wider aspects of it. You could have like a 7-band EQ that basically measures all these different bands. You could have 12 of them if you want. But let's see here. All right, about as high as I can go is about 500 hertz. So maybe I should make a 5-band EQ, because it's almost like if I could sense at 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500, we'd be good. But no, just to keep things simpler and not have to make another. Well, maybe I will make one. Why not? Go for it. I'll make another one of those jobbies, but I'll pause the video and do it so that you don't have to worry about. But before I get to that, I was looking at here and how, the Q determines the width of a band. And I went up to about 10. And we got a fairly narrow region here. It seems to cover like 100. And if I put this type of band at 200 or 300, 400, 500, it seems to get enough of the surrounding area pretty well, so that you can pick up that region pretty well. So that is information that's going to apply to something we're going to do later. So if you want to play with Audition and see what your range is, you go ahead. But that was just mostly a demo. What I'm going to do is pause the video and open up Photoshop and just make one more band. Okay, as you can see, I have my 5 bands here. So now let's get back to PD. And they're in the same folder with, I guess I could rename this now. Here, let's just save this, close it, close Pd-L2Ork, and then I can rename it 5-band EQ display. Or I just call it 5-band display, that's fine. It's important to say 5-band, to say display, because otherwise someone might think it's an actual equalizer, but this isn't going to do any equalization. This is just displaying. Okay. You can make it into an equalizer, but that's a lot more patching than what we're going to do. We basically want to see some audio reactivity in GEM. Okay, and from what I've seen before, if I move this over here, no, don't expand it all the way. There we go. Now we could create the window just so I can visually describe something here. Now what we want to do is create a 5-band display. I might have to adjust some figures a little bit, but with me experimenting with it earlier, it looks like when you create a rectangle, the position that you use in Translate for where it's positioned on the screen refers to the middle of the rectangle. So I believe that's the case. We're going to find out for sure here. So I'm going to go into edit mode. Remember, those of you need to have your declare object up there if you, well, I described that earlier. If you missed it, please rewind. All right, gem head. Now, by default, it's going to be 50, so I don't have to type 50 in. So I'm going to make a gem head. I could put a toggle here to make the thing disappear and reappear if necessary. But then that's one extra thing that I'd have to have a load bank set up for to turn that on every time it starts. Because that toggle starts off at 0, basically. So after gem head, we are going to put these in a bit of an order. The first thing is we need to locate the thing. So we're going to put in translate. I like to click on the object itself, hit Control 1, Command 1 in Mac, and it just places the object for you and hooks it up and makes it a nice small distance away. We're going to use translate XYZ. Notice that the X, Y, and Z have to be capitalized. And the default position, we're going to do band 1. Now, remember the widths and heights and things are done in these units. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're saying this one's going to be in the middle here. It's going to go to 0.5 to this side, 0.5 to this side. So this would be negative 1.5 on the x-axis and negative 2.5 on the x-axis, like this. Negative 2.5 for our x value. Our y value is going to be 0, and our z value is going to be 0. There is depth to it, even though we're doing two-dimensional objects. Now, actually, I should just pull this down because I know later we are going to have to access it. Okay. And then next after this, we're going to have pics underscore image. This calls up the image. And this will be band underscore 1.png. And then next, we're going to have pics underscore texture. This is what applies that image that we're calling up with the pics object. You can use a draw command afterwards, but since we're going to be putting this on a rectangle that we're going to manipulate, we need to use pics texture. So we can just type pics texture. And then we're going to make rectangle. And we'll put in default size values. Its width is going to be 1. Oh, but that's the second. Or is it the, no, the first value is width. So 1. Second value, we're going to make it narrow. This is like when no sound is registered in that band. It should be pretty flattish. So I'm going to say 0.2. Okay. And we got it. Here it is right here. Now, we may need to move it over. We're going to see as we put in our other ones. And we'll move things around to make space as we go. But what I'm going to do is duplicate this. Control D, Command D in Mac. Make sure you grab blue selected stuff. Otherwise, if you deselect it by clicking away from it, this would be piled on top of this and you'd have to sort it out. Okay, and so translate. This is going to be negative 1.5. and it's going to be band 2. And it's picks texture fine, and the rectangle size is fine. Just moved over in a different color. I see it here. Now it seems to be overlapping a bit. Yeah, because these are middles. So, let's try 3.5 on the first one. That would be under translate. It's x-axis. Since these aren't going to change, most of these aren't going to change, I'm putting them in as creation arguments. Let's try that. Oh, I put in positive 3.5. It needs to be negative. 0 on the x-axis and the y-axis is in the middle of the view. So there we go. There's a little space in between. That's okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. I can live with that. All righty. Now, let's duplicate this. Oh, I got a little bit of other stuff here. Let me just drop it here. Delete that. Anything that's in your selection area when you select gets included. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is do the third one here. Then we're going to start hooking up some other things because I can already see with the space that I have here, I might want to do sub patches. But we want to hook up some of the other stuff just to see how cables are going to run and all that. So translate. I'm going to try and make this 0. Here, there isn't a space in between. It's right up against it. But let's make it the third band and just see. It looks like it might be the bottom left corner that things are on. So if we needed a whole to not overlap, we went negative 3.5 here. This is negative 1.5. So that means like a whole 2. Weird. It's almost like I'm saying the width is 1, but overall it's doubling it. It may be measuring it from the middle and going 1 to either side. So that seems to be the case. So basically when you're saying the width of the rectangle is 1, it goes 1 one way and 1 the other, unit wise. So let me see here. If this band, our middle band, band 3, is going to be here, let's make its place actually 0, which we have here already. It is at 0. Okay, good. Now you, instead of at negative 1.5, are going to be at negative 2. Right? And you are going to be at negative 4. Alrighty, good. There we go. So there you see, we got them all nice and lined up. Now we know how this size of the rectangle and the translate placement work together. Very good. Now, this is what we're going to do to make some things auto-reactive. We'll make the other two bands in it, but I have a feeling we're going to make a sub patch because I'm running out of space here, and I don't want things to get too cluttered. We're going to have an ADC bringing sound in. And just so we could send it around to different places, we're going to make a send, but it's an S with a tilde because it is an audio signal coming into it, and it needs to be an S tilde object, not a regular S object. I'm going to dispense with my tradition of putting a $0 there because I don't know if this is going to be used in a sub patch of other things. This is going to be its own thing, so we don't need the $0 there, so let's just do that. So now, the error may have come up that there's a send without a corresponding receive, but that'll be fixed in a moment. I'm going to move these down. These will probably go in sub patches, but this is what we're going to have. This is how we're going to sense what's coming in. So we're going to have receive tilde audio underscore input. And then that is going to go into a band pass filter. BP tilde is a band pass filter in PD, and its creation arguments would be the center frequency and then the Q. And we saw the Q value over there in the parametric equalizer. The Q value of 10 looked like it would be useful throughout. So we'll start with band 100 hertz, and our Q will be 10. All right, and next we're going to make an ENV. I'm going to put in 16,384 and 8,192. Those have been working out for me as good values for the window size and the ramp size for envelope. All right. And then, now envelope is going to spit out values where basically it's dB RMS, RMS expressed in dB. So in that scale, they say in PD's descriptions that like an amplitude of 1, which is your max amplitude before you clip, that is equivalent in this dB RMS as 100. So we could think of this as coming in a scale of, well, it's never going to be completely zero because nobody has a completely silent room. But it'll be basically in a range up to 100. The way these units for sizes and placement and gem works, it's good to use a divider by 100 on that. Now, they already have a basic height of 0.2 right here. All right. Now, we're going to hook it up to this one first. We need to make some space, and this will give us an idea how we're going to do our patching. So we divide by 100, and then we're going to add plus 0.2 so it doesn't go below it. Now, the thing that's also going to happen, and I'll show you this because it's going to be happening as soon as we're going to need this anyway. A load bang to a message with semicolon, hit enter, PD DSP1, semicolon. So automatically sound comes on when we start. I'll go into run mode now, click it now. So our DSP's on. So actually, let's put a number box below this so we can see the numbers. There you go. you see when I sang a lower note like that, it was up to the 90s. So yes, that's a good range. So I'm going to hook this up to the Y axis, or the Y value in rectangle, so its height will move. Now you see it's getting bigger, but it's getting bigger in both directions. That seems to be how things work in GEM. It's like, your size units go in both directions. Everything is like attached to the middle. So in order to counteract that, we're going to have to put the same value into translate XYZ as the Y value. Oh, it didn't connect. Hold on. There we go. Now we're just going up. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't go up as much. We may narrow our cues and see how that works. Well, actually, pretty narrow at 10, but we'll see. Okay, in order to deal with space here, this is what I'm going to do. And this will be a quick thing to do. I'm going to just select this, hit Control X, Control 1. Remember, this is all Command 1 and Command X in Mac. PD band _1. That opens up this window. Here I can hit Control V or Command V in Mac. And we're pasting in our thing. And what we're going to put up here is an inlet. And then this inlet is going to hook up directly to the Y axis of translate, and then the Y of rectangle. Come on. Sometimes it's harder to grab the objects in Lork than in PD Vanilla. There we go, because both of those need it. All right, now I can close U. All that is contained in here. Now I could just connect U to U. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the others. But you know what actually would be quicker? Delete those. Select this, Control D. Just so it makes sense, let's rename it to Band 2. Open it up. And just make those two changes that we have to make here. Where the translate is -2. All right. And the Band 2 image should be used. Okay. There we go. Now hook it up. And we should see that one fluctuate as well. Hello there. Oh, they're moving in tandem. Oh, well, they're hooked up to the same band. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Of course it is. Now I see how we're going to maximize our space. We'll select this, move it right down here. And what we'll do to make the second one is select that, Control D, Command D in Mac, grab the blue selected area and move it right over here. Move you down here. And then all we have to do is change the BP frequency to 200. And then hook this up down here. I guess there's not going to be a huge difference between 100 and 200 hertz. Let me try narrowing these. 20, and 20. A higher value is actually narrowing, but no, we are not getting a huge difference there. Let's go up to, we could cover more of the frequency spectrum. Instead of at 200, let's try 300. Okay, now how much of a difference does that make in the frequencies here? Okay, I'm going to pause the video and take a look at the help file for bandpass just to see if I could do something with Q. Well, no, hold on. Hold on here. Maybe to make this a more useful equalizer, I'm going to go back to 10 here, but I'm going to keep it at 300 and go back to 10 here. I mean, it's just, well, let's keep going and we'll see how this works out. If not, we'll space apart our frequencies more. So what I'm going to do is I could copy both of these to get the next two bands. Now what we need to do is change frequencies here. That's at 300. You know, things double as you go up in frequencies. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep doubling frequencies. So I'll make this 200 hertz again. And make this 400. Double that. And then make this 800. There we go. And we'll see how that goes. These bands are going to be renamed to 3 and 4. And then on the inside, we're going to open them up. Band 3 here is going to be the band 3 image. And its translate needs to go over in the x-axis. Let's see, one was at, this one's at 0. There we go. Well, they're all pretty much moving up in tandem and all that. We're going to have to see. We may have to adjust the frequencies and bandpass here. I'll also look at the Qs because maybe the Q values in PD are different than what they are in Audition. So I'll check that. I'll pause the video to do it so it doesn't take. Oh, that's all right. That's correct. Let's open up U and go to 3. No, this is band 4. And it's going to be +2 this time. There. All right. Well, we're seeing a little differentiation. And when we make the 5th band, it won't be as centralized, but I'll live with it. It won't be as centralized, I don't think, but I'll live with it. Let's make the 5th band and then see what we can do. I think it is going to have to be like narrowing of the Q in bandpass. Because if the Q is too wide, it's picking up so many of the other bands that, you know, It's going to be 1600. Okay, and we label this band 5. And we go in here. And this is going to be at 4. And it's going to be the band 5 image. There we go. All right, so yeah, there is a little bit of differentiation. I think I'm going to have to narrow the key. So I'm going to pause the videos and look at the help file for the bandpass, and then I'll tell you what I have found. Okay, I'm back. The PD files, the help files didn't say anything about the Q range, so I assume it is close to what it is in Audition. So what I did here is I basically did some trial and error, and basically I find that the Q of 10 is best. And I changed the bandpass frequencies back to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. It might be good for you to like look in Audition at your vocal range, and as you sing some notes, what frequencies they're for. Now, that would be a completely different thing if you were making this as a frequency display for music playing out. Then you could look across a spectrum of just some musical track, for whatever genre of music you do. And you would look at like what's spiking up in different frequency ranges and put those frequency ranges in, into bandpass. But another thing is I changed the values down here. Instead of divide by 100, it's now divide by 50. Things seem to go taller then as a result. Like if I go do, oh, these are still sticking up. Man. When I do that, it does lean. It comes up strongest here, and these come up a bit here, and these go down. So it's reacting to that range fine. But when I sing a low note, this is the tallest, It's all bandpass here. I'm going to try one other thing, see if that fixes it. But basically, yeah. But I'm showing you the experimentation process just so you could see what you might have to go through to make this work for your purposes. All right, so let me pause again. Okay, I'm back. So I've gotten closer. Basically, 100 as the Q. So I have this one at frequency 100, 100 Q. 200, 100 Q. Now I could experiment further, maybe see 75, but the higher the number, the more narrow the Q. So I've been able to go like that locked into that note. That locked into that note. That locked into that one. And then this one goes up. So these are covering a little bit better now, my vocal spectrum. But you see, this is the kind of experimentation you got to go through in whatever you're trying to read and whatever you're trying to visualize. If it's like music, then you still want narrow Qs, which are higher numbers. If I wanted to take more time, I could try out 80, 90, and maybe in the future for future videos and other audio reactive things that I make, I might do that. But right now I know I have a gang of students that are just like, no way, don't want you to do more. But we are going to do one more thing to each of these here. Because this thing is a little bit too high up, I'd like to just move it down, and we'll just basically apply the same change to each one. We have here, I just want to show you the logic behind this. Translate the normal Y position of these things is 0. And when this stuff comes in, it's basically being divided by 50 and then added to 0.02. Changing the position 0 here won't matter, because as long as sound's coming in on that thing of any kind, through the envelope and this whole adding process here, it's going to be basically positioned at 0.2. So if I do this, well, first of all, let me see what happens when we take this out. Okay, well, that didn't really that didn't really do anything, did it? Well, at least now it's not getting as super tall. So maybe that will be good enough for our purposes here, is to take that point plus 0.2 out. Because in Translate, I thought I had the Y thing set for 0.2, but Translate, basically, its default arguments get ignored as soon as these new ones come in. So let's just take the plus 2's out. There we go. Just eliminate them for the rest of these. Although they don't seem to be moving down. That's interesting. But they are not rising as high. So, yeah, that's good enough. So, it's fitting within the screen a little bit better. But you got a lot of empty space here. What I can do is, for the line going to Translate here, it's going to the Y position. That's the place to go. Let's do this. Let's put in here in each one of these. How about a -1? This was basically just to deal with the fact that, hello, how are you doing? Yeah, that'll move them all down evenly. So if we just put a -1 into each of these, that would look better. And it is still, because the Translate is moving with the size that's coming in, it's keeping it steady here. It's keeping it on its Y-axis here. Otherwise, it would be pushing down as much as pushing up. But if we just put in what did I do? Was it 1 or 2? I think it was 1. -1 for all these. Then we get it in the center. And I mean, you could make in Photoshop like a background for this, have it drawn in, and make sure that that is, that the gem head priority numbers are put in. All these are at the same priority of 50. you would have to put a background in at 49 or less so that it would be behind these things. So you could really have like a background there and make a nice cool EQ display. I'll be making more advanced things in future seasons, but as this is for being developed primarily for a class right now, I'm introducing the concepts. And then for those people that really enjoy this series and stuff, I'll be going further in future seasons and probably not building in real time. You know, I'll be making some things and then showing the patches and describing them, because the people watching will have been able to get the fundamentals out of this, where those are best demonstrated, you know, in real time, because then you get to see all the thinking process and really learn more about developing in Pd-L2Ork or PD. There we go. So now we're all good. I'm going to take a snapshot of this for the thumbnail, and yeehaw. That's a nice patch. Now, is there anything else I want to check? If there's anything that needs to be load banked, I just saved this. I'm going to close it. And let's open it again. Well, it opened in regular PD vanilla, but I do have gem installed in here. So let me just see. Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is hit the gem win button. And yeah, you do get results. But yeah, so the person just needs to know when opening the patch to click this button and it opens. Otherwise, you could have the load bang go to this button here, to this message here. But anyway, that sounds good. That sounds all good. Thank you for joining me. So until next time, stay free and take care.